If this video is going to YouTube, I don't know, maybe. So I was going to be talking about the level of English we were expected to have, because of course the vocabulary can't be the thing we are going to be judged on heavily. Because sure, up your English, but for some of the people, like the people who are doing a Let's Play, that's pretty much impossible for them, because of course, well, actually everyone who's going to be making a YouTube video like recording, it is going to be quite impossible to actually have a high level vocabulary, because pretty much no YouTubers actually have a high vocabulary, or at least not a high level of vocabulary. Some of them have a wide vocabulary, but not especially a high level of vocabulary. If that's going to be the thing we're going to be judged on, I don't actually think that's that fair, because even like people like YouTubers Law, which is a channel which discusses actual court cases, just like the one between Stardock and two of the original developers about the Star Control franchise, which was resolved like 2 weeks ago or something, that actually doesn't have a high level of English. It does discuss court cases, but not with a high level of English. Or at least not a high level of vocabulary, because otherwise people don't want to watch it. Same with Scott Manley, an actual rocket scientist, or at least someone who discusses rocket science. It may be rocket science, but that doesn't mean that it is hard to explain it, or at least not that you need a very high level of vocabulary to understand it. So if that's the thing we're going to be judged on, that wouldn't really be fair, because the people who are doing a Let's Play, for instance, they'll be focusing on the game, and then you can't really write a script for that, and upping your English live, that is pretty hard, if not impossible, because of course they're concentrating on the game. They don't have 100% of their attention to their English. Same like super science, which is actually someone who has a degree in microbiology, which discusses science, and there are a lot more of those kind of YouTube channels which don't use a high vocabulary to explain their quite difficult things. We don't know what we're going to be judged on. Maybe it's the vocabulary, or maybe it's your pronunciation, or it's your charisma, or your enthusiasm, or the confidence you speak at. Maybe it's that you don't interrupt your sentences to think about what you're going to be saying. Maybe it's the amount of time you actually speak for. Though it was said that you only needed to speak for something like 3 minutes to actually already have spoken long enough, but we didn't have a hard limit on how much you can speak for. Maybe it's the enjoyment which the teacher is going to get out of the video, but in that case my video is going to get a very low mark for that, because of course it's kind of indirect criticism of him, because of course it's about how the assignment was actually explained. So if it's about how the assignment was explained, that's something he did, so therefore it is indirect criticism to him. So if it's the enjoyment which the teacher gets out of the video, then mine is not going to get a high mark, or at least not for that part. Maybe we're going to be judged on all of the things I've been discussing up until this point, like vocabulary, pronunciation, enthusiasm, charisma, enjoyment for the teacher. In that case, like, what is the main focus? Is it the vocabulary? Because in that case, they know that a lot of people don't get a high mark for that, because of course they can't really think about their vocabulary while playing a game. So with live commentary, it's pretty much impossible to have a high level of vocabulary. But as well, like, why would they have a high level of vocabulary? It's not as if the actual professionals, the people who do it for a living, have a high level of vocabulary. Maybe you get bonus points if you explain something very well. Maybe it's that you do something incredible in your video game which you're making a video about. Maybe it's something else. We don't know, and that's actually kind of annoying, because of course if you know what you're going to be judged on, it's a lot easier to make a good video. We were told that all subjects would be correct, or at least good, for a video. So that's why I chose this one, because of course it's something I, thought could be interesting, and I mean, I wanted to be talking for 20 minutes straight, which it doesn't seem like I'm going to be able to do. Yes, so again, I mean, vocabulary is of course a decent part of the language, but in my opinion you can't really judge the vocabulary highly, or at least not for all types of videos equally. Because people who can make a script for their video, then it's a lot easier to actually make that video into one coherent piece and also into something which you can up your English in. Because that's something we had in like a couple of lessons ago, I think. We were told like, and don't forget to up your English. Yeah, sure, but how do you up your English in a live commentary like some of the people who are going to do? But yeah, pronunciation, some people will not get a high mark for that. I mean, I know I don't get a high mark for charisma, enthusiasm, or enjoyment for Mr. From Mountain, as some people would call him, or have already called him, depends on the order he watches the videos in. Of course, I don't know if he thinks it is a good video. I mean, I don't actually think it's a good video at all. I think it's mostly just rambling, which we were told we shouldn't do. We shouldn't do something without a script and just off the top of our head. In my opinion, it would indeed be a little bit better if it was a little bit more transparent for what we are going to be judged on. Because then, of course, you can focus your video and maybe even decide your subject for the thing you're going to be judged on. In my case, I don't know if it's going to be about the enjoyment of the teachers, because of course, in that case I won't get a high mark, even if my video is decent and it's one of the main things he's going to be judging the videos on, then that's not going to be nice for me. I mean, on the other hand, making an entertaining let's play, that's also definitely a lot more difficult than some people may think at first glance. Okay, I think I ran out of things to say, so I will actually just be ending the video right here, if it is going to be used actually at all. So this video is going to be about the level of English we are required to speak at during our presentation or video or whatever you actually plan on doing, which is in my case of course a video. Because it is actually kind of interesting that even though we are allowed to make a YouTube video or a live stream or something, there are almost no YouTubers or streamers which actually have a higher level of English. Even YouTube channels like YouTuber Law, which are actually discussing court cases, don't use a high level of English. Simply because if you do, a lot of people won't watch. So we're supposed to make a video, and I know some people are going to be doing a let's play or a stream or something, and then they're supposed to have a high level of English. That is pretty much impossible because, well, if they would follow someone else's example, there is no way you have a high level of English, because there are almost no people who are actually speaking a higher level of English in their videos. So if you're doing something like they are doing, the chances of you having a high level of English during that are quite slim. So if we're supposed to have a high level of English while imitating people who don't, then there are only two options. One, you get a bad grade because you didn't have a high level of English, or B, the expected level of English is very low. No matter what you actually do, the chances of you having a high level of English during something where even the professionals, quote unquote, don't use a high level of English, then how should you be able to do that? Though maybe they actually just mean a high level of English as in your pronunciation, which if I'm actually focusing on trying to say the word correctly, because it is kind of important, because otherwise it's kind of ironic, because of course it's about how you say the word, and then if you say the word bad, then then that would definitely fall under irony, yeah, for sure. But then what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to be having a big vocabulary, which doesn't really make that much sense, because sometimes there's just nothing you can say, or like that you can think of in the moment, which is actually like a high level. So unless you script everything with a high level of English, the chances of you using a high level of vocabulary, maybe the English level is okay because of your pronunciation and the use of words themselves, but the actual vocabulary isn't that big, then what is going to be judged on? Is it the presentation? Is it the vocabulary? Is it the pronunciation? Is it the time you speak for? Is it the fluentness? I have no idea what's going to be judged on, and that's actually something which we didn't really discuss in class either. But okay, yeah, no, this is definitely going to be scrapped. I think so, yeah. Chances of it being scrapped are quite high.